War shatters dating scene for women's in Ukraine. Yeah, never mind the men that are being conscripted against their will and sent out to the front lines to die. Oh, what about those poor women who can't get a date back home? Think of the real victims of this war. So while the pursuit of love might seem secondary to dealing with the horrors and privations of war, yeah, might seem secondary. You mean while it is? Many Ukrainians say they need romantic relationships to help them cope. Oh no, poor women! While all the men are out dying on the front lines, they can't find any dick to help them cope. Aw. Well, maybe they could go to the front lines and help out. That they could serve as comfort whammons, right? There's ways we could fix this. For the past 2.5 years, Katerina Biarkana has wanted to meet someone special, but war always gets in the way. Miss Barakana met a soldier, but then he was sent to the front. She traded text messages with another man, but those fizzled out because he was in no mood to meet, fearing he might soon be drafted. On the dating app Bumble, Miss Barakna, I gotta say your name correctly. Yeah, Barakna, I think. Yeah, like the looks of a hipster, but when she scrolled through his photograph, she noticed his amputated leg. Wow. So he probably lost that leg in combat fighting to save her ass. And she's all like, I don't want an amputee. Dude, this is going to kill all motivation that Ukrainian men have to keep fighting right there. Like these ungrateful 304s are why we're out here dying? Really? Why are we doing this? Why? So I looked at his profile for 15 minutes and I felt sorry for him. Miss Bayrakna, 35, a marketing director for a clothing brand in Kiev, said in an interview. She wondered if she could handle a relationship with a maimed war veteran. Then she swiped left, removing him from potential matches. I feel I'm not ready for that. Yeah, the guy who lost his leg protecting your stupid ass, you're not ready for, and yeah, you're a post-wall hag as well, man. What the hell? The 35-year-old post-wall 304 is too good for the war veteran? Okay. Russia's full-scale invasion has upended nearly every facet of daily life in Ukraine. 2/3 of Ukrainians have lost a relative or friend to the conflict. Hours-long blackouts are now routine across the country, and entire cities have been obliterated by Russian strikes. Whammon's most affected. You forgot to add Whammon's most affected. What is wrong with you missing the most important part? It has also wreaked havoc on the dating scene. Oh no. While the pursuit of love might seem second in dealing with missile attacks, power outages, and food shortages, many Ukrainians say they need romantic relationships to help them cope with the trauma of living in a nation at war. Can you really consider that like living in a war zone when your biggest concern is getting some dick? War has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it? For Whammons, the problem is particularly acute. Yep, Whammons most affected. Tens of thousands of men have died, many more on the front line. Some have fled the country, and others are reluctant to leave their homes, fear of being stopped in the street by draft officers. In cities like Kiev, the capital, the presence of men has noticeably dwindled. In some villages, conscription has hollowed out the male population. This leaves a small percentage of men who are ready for and want relationships, said Margarita Stelmashova, a Ukrainian psychotherapist and sexologist. Those two go together. The war has also made forming long-term relationships more challenging. Many soldiers experience psychological stress that strains their intimate connections, sexologists say. And several Whammons said in interviews that they're worried about dating servicemen who might have war trauma or who might one day be Minecrafted. Oh no, won't anyone think of those poor women who might lose a boyfriend when some man died? They forget about the men, they're not important. Well, what about the women who are inconvenienced? Like they may have been working on a 6-month-long relationship with that guy, and he dares to up and die on them? You realize that Whammon's wasted 6 months of her limited prime, her youth and beauty, And you throw that all away by dying on her? How dare you? Like, seriously, if you're a guy and you just die on a whammons like this, how dare you? You call yourself a real man? Can you think about someone else for once in your life? Stop being so damn selfish. If what I said sounds stupid to you, realize that's the point they're making. And last year, Ukraine had this lowest number of births and second lowest number of marriages in the past 10 years. I wonder why. So, faced with the turmoil of war, some Waymans are now resorting to measures they had not contemplated before, like using dating apps or going on speed dates. Maybe they're going to turn to carpet munching next. War is a deal breaker, said Svetlana Krivokucho. 36, still on the market. Oh, God. An IT worker who recently, Sunday afternoon, was participating for the first time in a speed dating event at a trendy cafe in central Kiev. It's a love crisis. You're 36. You shouldn't be dating anymore. In the cafe, women sat at tables marked with numbered signs while men rotated for 5-minute talks. Each conversation began with people exchanging forms detailing their interests. Smiles crept across faces and laughter filled the room as bonds were forged. At a table further back, Elisa Samuseva, 38, organizer of the event, called tete-a-tete, stuck a somber note. Only 26 men had turned up, she said, compared to the usual minimum of 30. That had forced her to hold only one speed dating session instead of the usual 2. They're afraid, said Miss Samuseva, said to the men, attributing their absence to a mobilization law of the Ukrainian government enforced in May to fill the ranks of the army. They don't want to go out. They just want to sit home and hide. How dare they? Don't they realize that when they're trying to avoid getting conscripted into a war they couldn't care less about, that they're inconveniencing women? How selfish. Ms. Samuseva said she was considering organizing online sessions to circumvent the issue, like during Corona-chan. I don't think the men would be willing to really participate in that either. I don't really see them rushing into that. Maybe it's just me. Like, especially when these men see the type of whammons they're going to be competing for, they're going to be like, nope. On dating apps, men profiles offer a window into the radical changes brought by the conflict. More men are pictured wearing military uniforms or with prosthetic limbs. Foreigners employed by humanitarian organizations and international institutions appear regularly, and so do foreign fighters who have joined Ukraine's war against Russia. The strain of the war on Ukrainian men is evident on dating apps, Ms. Barakna said, observing that many look very depressed and tired. Oh, dude, yeah, I know you've been out fighting for your life for 2 years and you lost both your legs, but could you at least try not to look so depressed? Thank you very much. I'd appreciate that. Would you think of someone other than yourself for once? Quit being so selfish. Yeah, and wouldn't you guys be tripping over yourselves to get with these women? They sound like such pleasant people. Now, she said other women said their mood was gloomy with few willing to commit to relationships. Why? Okay, my question is, why are they still on these dating apps then? They must know by now that the type of whammons they're going to be getting aren't really worth their time. I wonder why they still do it. Olena Akshenko, 24, a marketing. Oh, okay, finally one that's actually of proper dating age. A marketing producer from Kiev seeking a long-term relationship said her exchanges on the dating app Tinder often hit a wall. I ask, what are we doing? What is happening? She said. They respond, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or in 2 years' time. There's a war in the country. Oh my God. Like, that's disconnect. Like that tells you something, doesn't it? Yeah, the men are like, okay, we need a plan for the future because it's all uncertain. Yeah, we got a war going on. And the whammons are like, can't we just go out and party? Like, who cares? Yeah, the town 2 towns over is being bombed, but we're not being bombed. Let's just go dance and party. Ms. Akshenko said about 1 in 5 men she encountered on Tinder were soldiers, but she had not chatted with any of them. They're brave, they're heroes, but given the situation, start a relationship feels too risky. Yeah, it's fine when they die for me, but I don't want to return them any favors. Like, ew. Several Ukrainian women have traveled abroad since the war broke out, said it was much easier to date foreigners who did not face the threat of war. Hey, Ukrainian men, this is what you're fighting for. You're fighting and dying so your women can just go out and date everyone but you. Damn. That is rough right there. So Miss Barakma, who often travels outside Ukraine, said that she has been struck with the dual reality. Why do our men have to suffer so much when women can just go abroad and have a martini in Milan? That is a damn good question. At least she has a little bit of self-awareness. So love certainly has not vanished from Ukraine. Romances still blossom and weddings are still being celebrated. At Forsage, a popular club in Kiev, the dance floor pulsed with young people grooving to R&B and pop music. Marina Pilka, 22, said that there was hardly a night when she was not approached by a man at a club, adding, however, that she was very selective in this matter. God, man, you're still gonna do. Look, if you're gonna stay selective for so long, you're gonna be one of those 35-year-olds complaining that you can't find a man for some reason. But Miss Pilka recalled how military man she once dated had ended their relationship after he was injured. He said, "You can find someone better than me in Kiev." She recalled it was really painful. Oh, wow. So the dude did it to himself. Damn. The war has also heightened ideological divides, crushing potential relationships that might have blossomed before the conflict. Some women now refuse to date draft dodgers, saying they are unpatriotic. Okay. How about you go out and fucking fight then? Man, like, people like this, I have a special level of contempt for them. Like, they demand you make all the sacrifices, that you've sacrificed everything for them. As soon as you even suggest that they do something for themselves for once, and they act like you murdered their dog. So it's also common to see whammons on the dating app stating their refusal to date Russian speakers, reflecting a broader movement among Ukrainians since the war began to stop speaking Russian, a common language in the country, which entirely switched to Ukrainian. Or at the speed dating event in Kiev, Yulia Kovtun, 27, stayed silent for 5 minutes after a man who had just sat down at a table told her that he would speak only Russian. Now, that's a nice way to turn it on him. I'm looking for someone who shares my values and firmly supports the language issue, she said, noting that both her grandparents had taken part in Ukraine's pro-independence nationalist movements in the 1940s. Both of her grandparents. Oh, I think I know what they mean. I was going to say, but shouldn't you have 4 grandparents? Then I realized, both of her grandfathers. That's probably what they meant. God, man, they still think they can afford to be this picky. Hey, the atmosphere is more relaxed at the table of Serhiy Chukov, 38, a soldier who lost his left leg in the war and now wears a sleek black prosthesis. He and the women across from him said they were glad to have found a place to meet people and briefly forget the harsh realities of war. Mr. Chukov said that the event was a breath of fresh air compared to with the situation in the army, where he and his fellow soldiers struggled to form and cultivate romantic relationships. It's a great problem, he said, his voice trailing off. Well, if you just realize that these whammons aren't really worth it and focus on yourself, you'd be much happier, man. The speed dating event seemed to solve the problem there. Most of Mr. Chukov's encounters involved laughter, smiles, and intense gazes. At the end, more than a dozen whammons wanted to meet him again, and he was interested in 9. He had 4 mutual matches. I don't need to come a second time because there are already so many nice girls today, Mr. Chukov said with a grin. It's more than enough. Yeah. So contrary to the whammons they chose to use in the rest of this article, thankfully this guy was able to find some decent ones at least. So good on you, man. After what you've been through, you at least deserve a slightly better 304 for your troubles. So hopefully he finds what he needs, man. But overall, really sad and pathetic display of whammons most affected. I am disappointed, but not surprised.